All right, this week I'm going to talk about getting the concept of community. So I'm going to retouch upon some of the ideas of one of my older videos, like the AA versus smart recovery video I made a while ago. So I'm going to come at it from, like I said, the sense of community. So if you get into the seven pillars of Swellnormous, that's like the first pillar. So in a sense, you can see how important community is. So I'm going to come at it from the angle of do you want to surround yourself with people that are going to be dragging you down, or are you going to be surrounding yourself with people that are going to try and, or at least attempt to help lift you up? So dragging people that drag you down, you tend to then start to perpetuate dragging other people down. The whole concept of misery loves company type of deal. Now, or are you going to start surrounding yourself with the people that, like I said, are uplifting you, and so you, in a sense, kind of perpetuate that. You start to try and uplift other people. So, with the concept of AA and their whole meetings and their whole culture and their whole ideology based off religion, it's pretty much based on the idea that we have to beat you down because hey, look, in their first step, they remind you, look, you're completely powerless. I mean, you're completely worthless. You're completely hopeless. You need us, and you need all of this to help us, to help you with your substance abuse problem. And it's pretty much states in the whole culture and literature, if the only other alternative to this is jails, institution, and death. So you got to think well, wait a second. If I'm given in a sense an ultimatum that it's either this or jails, institution, and death, why am I going to start surrounding myself with people that are perpetuating that? Plus, they're trying to beat me down, saying I'm completely powerless, I'm completely worthless, I'm completely hopeless, and I have to now in a sense, rely on this 1930s religion. I have to accept that God as I understand Him. I have to sit here and do the steps, do all this and everything, because once you take a step back and detach yourself from everything, you realize that the suggestions of the program aren't suggestions, they're absolutes. Because, like I said, if you pretty much don't do uh, the whole 9 yards, the whole 12 steps, the whole meetings, service work, getting doing everything that AA pretty much demands of you, your other alternative is jails, death, and institutions. So, are you going to start surrounding yourself with people that are basically fear mongering you into a program? So that begs the question: is it really effective if you're being fear mongered into it? And so again, are you going to start surrounding yourself with people that are just going to sit there and pretty much drag you down, berate you for being completely powerless, hopeless, worthless? Again, misery loves company. So you go into a meeting, AA meeting or a smart recovery meeting, or all the other alternatives that I covered, Phoenix program, there's rational recovery, there's a SOS, there's reach out recovery. There's so many different approaches based on science and psychology other than AA that you have to shift your focus. Okay, why am I going to accept a 1930s religious program to kind of, in a sense, solve my substance abuse problem with people that are just basically going to drag me down to their level and, in a sense, give me an ultimatum? You either accept this and do this, or the other alternatives is just basically to kind of go out and continue with your substance abuse and prove to everyone how worthless and hopeless and uh, uh, everything you are, how pathetic you are without us. So you got to think: are you going to surround yourself with those type of people, or are you going to get into the alternatives of a smart recovery, or a reach out recovery, Phoenix program, all the other ones that I have done videos on? So I'm going to mention a lot of stuff with the smart recovery only for a sense that that is what I'm most familiar with, even though all the other programs I've mentioned are just as good. You have to check out the videos I've touched upon. So I'm only coming at it from the smart recovery aspect because I'm familiar with that. They use concepts of a CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, REBT, rational emotional behavioral therapy. So they base their stuff on science and psychology, and they're constantly updating their stuff, because as more and more information comes out, it's like, oh hey, look, here's new ways and like new insights that we didn't necessarily know, so now we know more, so we can better tackle this issue, so we can help you, in a sense, put your substance abuse behind you. So in the actual Smart Recovery Handbook, they have like this whole like pie chart, and like in the pie chart they have the like slices of the pie where you put value on stuff. So like for instance, you might put value on like your finances, your relationship, your physical health, your mental health, your emotional health. And so like what you do is you sit there, and in each one of like all your values, you'll rate yourself from 1 to 10, and like it has like little bars and stuff where you can put dots and stuff in each slice of the pie, rating yourself 1 to 10, and then like you can, in a sense, connect the dots in that pie. And so that way it uses a concept of like getting into the CBT and the REBT, like, oh hey, look, here's where you think you stand with these stuff. So like for instance, like with finances, you're starting to get actual professional help, where you're not going to find that in AA. You will, like I mean, you probably will have to go through like an outpatient, inpatient program, wherever you are in your substance abuse like recovery. Like if you're just starting to get off and you need to do inpatient, then yeah, you start with inpatient, then you onboard into outpatient, and that way. So, or if like you're someone like me who was able to just walk right in, like, oh hey, look, I have a problem, I need help with this problem. You don't want to go to AA like I did, fully expecting to get help and everything. And what's being sold is a 1930s religion that's not going to be of any help, and hasn't been updated since the 1930s, or like when the first big book was published and everything. So, or are you going to go into things like Smart Recovery, where it's based on the modern research, where you can sit there and take the information, like actually get yourself better, and not become dependent on something else other than your substance and everything. So the whole concept of surrounding yourself with a community is like, are you going to surround yourself with the AA, a 1930s based religious program that are pretty much chock full of people that are just going to sit there and berate you and tell you how worthless you are, drag you down to their level, and try and get you to be dependent on them to stay sober? Like, look, you need to do all this. Or are you going to surround yourself with like the other programs like Smart Recovery, getting into like modern concepts, and getting into surrounding yourself with people that are going to be like, hey, look, you're now just been doing this stuff for 3 months. You haven't used alcohol in 3 months. Okay, so let's reassess where that pie chart. Let's reassess where you stand with like your values and everything. So getting into the concept of community, getting people to help uplift you, so you can then in turn uplift others as well. So that's the whole concept of a community. The adage that you are the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with. So are you going to be the type of person that sits there and like pretty much regurgitates information like, oh hey, well I couldn't get sober until I did this and everything, and you have to do the same, and like you can only do it this way because this is the only way that's work? Or are you going to get into like the alternatives and getting uplifting people, and like, oh hey, look, for instance, I came across Smart Recovery. It worked great for me, and like I can still sit here years later, revisit the concepts, and yeah, take a step back and look at like, where do I stand, and quite also not like, okay, well, hey, look, here's some information on Smart Recovery. This is stuff that worked for me. It might not be for you, so here's these other alternatives. Here's the Phoenix program. Here's Rational Recovery. So try these other ones. Like if you find the Smart Recovery approach doesn't work, but you find the Phoenix program approach works perfect, there you go. It's all about like pointing people in the right direction to be able to like in a sense uplift them, instead of beating them down, telling them how worthless they are. Because if you as an individual need people not sitting there berating you and telling you how worthless you are because you had a substance abuse problem. What you need is people like to uplift you, so you can get that positive sense of community, so that way you can actually give back to that community and everything. So that's like pretty much like a overarching concept of community between AA versus like your science and psychology based programs that are more modern and are constantly being updated to continue to help people move on with their lives and lead productive lives, not necessarily working at their jobs 24/7, but leading productive lives in the sense that we can give back to one another, so that instead of dragging each other down. So that's like in a sense coming from like at least attempting to come from the sense of like a community, an AA meeting versus like a smart recovery meeting. So me, I choose to surround myself with people that are going to try and like uplift each other, passing on information like especially information that, hey, look, I'm into physical fitness and like health and like nutrition and stuff like that, so I'm going to start passing on information like that. Next person might be into like say science, like physics or something. They might sitting there studying physics, and they might want to pass on this information and kind of like explain it to the layman, the layperson, and be like, oh, hey, here's stuff I'm researching, here's stuff I can pass on to help improve people's knowledge on physics and stuff. So that's the concept of a community. AA, on the one hand, with AA, you're surrounding yourself with the negative Nancy type that are going to constantly remind you on how worthless you are, or you're taking like the smart recovery approach, or the alternatives that I mentioned. You're taking that approach, and you're starting to surround yourself with people that are uplifting, like, hey, look, you're so much more capable than you are right now, so just keep working at it. You are actually like you're not worthless, you're actually like worthwhile. So that's the biggest difference between not just the AA meeting versus smart recovery meeting. That's the difference between the approach of a community. You're it all depends on you. You surround yourself with those negative Nancy's, or are you surrounding yourself with those people that are constantly trying to improve their lives and the lives of those around you?